Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Underhood Show presented by Hambelton Ford. My name's Phil Nightingale and Josh Bravo. Morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Beautiful Saturday morning out there, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Anyway, hey, everybody, this is a call-in show. 316-462-3673. Number there on the screen. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, anything you want to talk in the automobile world. We got a lot to talk about today, Josh, with what we did this week and earlier this week and stuff like that too. But it's a call-in show. Anything that you want to talk about in the automobile world, you want to talk about racing, whatever it is, make the phone call and you get a great price package valued over $130 for each and every caller. I don't know about you, Josh, but I don't know where you call in any other show to get that kind of money.
There you go.
So as always, Josh, what's in our great package we give away for each and every caller?
So we're going to mail it out to you, but it's going to consist of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Hambelton Ford. While we're performing that, we're also going to complete a multi-point inspection on the vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components on that vehicle, making sure that it's ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also receive yourself $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here with us at the Big Corner. Complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then a BG products package, which is going to consist of a can of MOA or motor oil additive for your engine oil, and then a can of CF5 for your fuel system. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving.
All right, 316-462-3673. Love to hear from you. And again, anything in the automobile world gets you this great price package. So anyway, Josh, we had a fun week ahead of us. And early this week, we flew out on Sunday and went to Las Vegas. Yeah, I know that's kind of terrible too, but went for some Ford meetings.
Yep.
And to see what's new and latest and greatest and what's happening up there and everything else too. First of all, we got to go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway and see a bunch of stuff there, from the Lightning pulling 5,000 pounds, which, you know, I knew it'd pull that. I don't know how many people had drove that thing, but it still had 200, I think it was 234-mile range, but I wonder what had it at the end of the day.
What they were cycling through on that deal. Yeah, for sure.
And then we got to see a bunch of off-road stuff. We got to see the Bronco Raptor in action. Got to see the Raptor R, which was pretty cool. Got to see the Heritage Broncos. What do you think of those Heritage Broncos?
You know, it's one of those things that I think that there's something for everybody. How about that? Let's put it that way. I did
good call.
I did think that it looked good as far as sharp. I don't know as that it would be for me. From
those colors
side.
a little different,
mm-hmm.
but I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to go back to the 70s, right?
You see a lot of I've seen a Silverado, kind of a heritage difference with the two-tone paint
in the middle and stuff.
I've seen those and a couple of other kind of throwback style designs on some other vehicles. And so I guess it's like they say, is that one day it will be in style again, no matter what it is. it will circle back around. So, but as far as I thought they did a really good job as far as the design and stuff like that to represent that older style vehicle for sure. Even, we were talking about the wheels on them.
Not my wheel, but
couple of those.
But that is kind of.
That's how it was then. We were talking about the moon hubcaps that went over them and stuff like that. And so just to try and get some of those design characters in that vehicle, I think they did a good job from that side of it. So.
So that's the Heritage edition of the Bronco and Bronco Sport. Now, the Bronco Sport, and again, everybody kind of got something different. That Bronco Sport, I think the best way to say that's not for me, but somebody's going to like that bit, that look and everything else too. And then the Everglades is the other one they brought out, and that's really kind of a really true off-road, go through water deep and everything else.
Yeah, it's got the snorkel up down on the passenger side of the A-pillar there and stuff like that. And previous to even going out there, there are a lot of different model lines, and that's something that we kind of talked about out there, is that there is really something for everybody. And to know what all those options are and what the appearance of them is and stuff like that, it was really neat to be able to see them kind of in a side-by-side fashion, I guess, and you could go through all the different options from there.
So then we got to see we didn't actually do it. The lines were long, and we probably should have stuck around a little bit longer, but I wasn't in the mood to stand in those long lines to ride in the Mustangs running around on the actual oval track. They were, doing about 140, I guess. 150,
so one of the other dealers, I was talking with him, he said 158 is what they did. And it was a ride along from that side. So they had they had a couple different ones, so I don't know exactly which one he got into. I'm assuming it was the GT500, but he said, 158, 159 is what they were doing around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway out there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
In those deals, which is, again, pretty cool for sure. I know they sounded really good going around that track. They had, I think, a couple of 500s, and then there was a couple of Mach 1s out there as well. So
yeah, they did sound pretty good. I will give him that. Those cars do sound pretty impressive screaming around that racetrack.
Healthy, if you will.
There you go. Healthy. Okay, so then we got to see and the next day we got to see the all new 23 Escape. Or is it? Yeah, it's a 23.
So it was a 23 Escape.
All redesigned, all redone, and pretty cool. I think they made some good changes there and everything else from that part. And I can't remember the words they use there, but I think that's the biggest segment of all manufacturers. That's the biggest segment of an SUV that's being sold, is that size.
Yeah, that's kind of about what I gathered with that too. And then also they're bringing the new model line to that Escape. The trim level to it as well.
The ST line, and I thought that was a cool looking option. And we've got that on the Edge, and we've got it on Explorer. So now they brought it to the Escape, which I think it makes that car look so cool. And I can't remember exactly, but I think it's like a $900 option is all it is to make that thing.
Yeah, the first level of it, they said, would be run around $900. So that is going to be Edge is something that, the Escape is something I feel that we sell quite a few of for sure. And
we do.
With they talked a little bit about the passenger cars going away and everybody moving towards SUVs, and I think that they've helped that transition by some of the body designs, and then not only the body designs, but just all the different options. I mean, there's really something out there for everybody. When you look at the Maverick to the Escape to the Explorer from that side of things, and then you got the Bronco Sport and full size Bronco. There's just about. I mean, if you can't find something there, there's something wrong.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I was shocked to see they redesigned the Escape. I really kind of thought with the Bronco Sport that would, because it's made on the same platform as both of them are together. I thought maybe the Escape was going to go away, but it doesn't look like it, because they've invested a lot of money in that Escape. And I guess it goes back to, again, not everybody wants that Bronco Sport look and from that part. So very cool. Then let's see what's next. Oh, the Mustang. 24 Mustang. Of course, there's a lot of videos out there already on the 24 Mustang.
They did the reveal after the day after.
Detroit,
so.
You didn't watch any of that, have you?
I've watched bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's about all I've done too. Just little bits and pieces of it. And Josh, I have this thing called Ford Authority that comes out every day, and I was telling you, I was watching that video come, the things I saw and everything else, and the quick blips on Facebook and everything else. The Motor Trend, Car and Drive, everybody wrote about it. They're coming out with a dark horse. Model, which is their performance model of the GT, and that's I think there's an S and an R, and I believe, don't quote me, I believe both of those are not street legal. They're actually just strictly race cars.
Oh, really?
And that might be, the R might be that way. Again, I haven't studied it up enough or whatever. In the back of my mind, I started thinking, where's the GT500? And the Ford Authority came out this morning and said, the GT500 is probably dead.
Wow.
And, it's no different than Dodge. I mean, Dodge has taken their last swing at all the big V8 horsepowers. They're canceling all them after 23. And Dodge is coming out with a whole bunch of big horsepower cars and stuff like that. And I think it's just, my opinion is, I think the manufacturers can't afford to build those high horsepower engines anymore and keep up with these CAFE ratings they have to keep that the government's put on them.
Yeah.
To make the emissions like that. I mean, that's where the electric cars come into play, these dang emissions we have to meet, and the amount of CAFE ratings they have to hit to produce that. But,
and I think too, probably is, as a manufacturer, you're going to make the most money in mass production.
Yeah.
And these cars these higher end cars or, performance cars are nice, but it's not a volume seller from that side of things.
Right.
But on the other side of that, as a manufacturer, you really got to keep that icon, moving,
Yep.
And so it's, from a dollars and cents side of things, it produces revenue that you can't even really write down on paper.
Can't show it to show that to the
to the accountant guy, and
bean counters.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope that's not true, but it probably is. And I guess what that does just makes Mo 500 worth a little bit more money down the road, I guess.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, as an owner of a GT 500, if they're gonna suspend them for a little while or stop making them,
they did it back because they stopped them in 14 and didn't bring them back out till 20. So
that is certainly not a downside of ownership by any means.
So we'll see what they come back with that or whatever. But the Mustang, the sheet metal, everything's new except the roof line. The interior of that car, I mean, the dash screens and all that stuff. I mean, I think that is so cool. Who knows? I might just have to have one anyway.
So we did get to see, we did get to see the Mustang out there in person, and I thought the body lines and stuff, they did a phenomenal job on the outside of it. Would have loved to have seen the inside a little more in detail, other than just some photos
up on the screen.
But it did look very, very good.
So they're saying this summer we'll see that car, which is cool. I hope we get it that soon and everything else too for that part. But again, I think the Camaro's going away, the Challenger is going away, so we'll be probably one of the very few that still has the
performance
rear-wheel drive hot rod out there in the deal. But again, 500 horsepower coming out of a GT. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
That is, I think back, even being in high school or around that time where you think,
500 when you talked about.
Yeah, like if you had 500, you belonged on a drag strip.
Yeah,
that was, and it certainly wasn't reliable. You weren't gonna get in something with 500 horsepower and drive it to a coast or anything and be comfortable, have air.
Air conditioning and all that.
It just amazes me. These manufacturers keep making these things, building them lighter and winding them tighter.
Yeah, exactly.
from that side.
Well, let's talk about that, because the next thing we got to see is the new 23 Super Duty.
Yeah.
And I can't believe the tech they're putting in that truck.
Yeah.
And everything else from towing and then they're coming out with a high output 6.7 diesel.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody want to buy the regular diesel and get the high output out there unless there's a huge upcharge to do that.
But here's the thing is, like, I've towed with the 6.7 quite a bit, or had the opportunity. I know you have as well. And I mean, it's substantial. It's plenty, the amount of torque and horsepower that these things are putting out. And then it just blows me away when I talk to somebody and they're wanting to put a tune in it for whatever reason, like
take the DEF fluid off of it or something,
and do this and that with it. And it's like, man, the truck is like, it will do everything that you need it to do. Why are you messing with it? leave it alone. But
Josh, just like I say, pull my race trailer around. I mean, that 6.7 is just a beast. I mean, if I want to run 100 with that thing, I would.
You could.
You do it, and not even feel that trailer sitting back there behind you or whatever. But what a lot of guys on that diesel side of that point don't realize when they're putting that tune in there and doing that stuff to that truck, how much life they're taking out of that motor, let alone the transmission, the transfer case, the differentials, and all that stuff, what that's doing to that truck. And I know that's a pain in the butt. Yeah, it pisses me off too when I got to turn around and put some DEF fluid in my truck before I take off. I get it. Or we get a sensor, something goes bad, and we just want to kill that system. But those systems were put on there for a reason, to meet the emissions and stuff coming out of there. Now, I do agree back in 08 when they just started slapping filters underneath the trucks to meet the emissions. I understand what it did. It trucks, it slowed them down, all kind of stuff. But now these trucks have been designed with that filter in there and designed with the programming and everything else to run like they're supposed to. But I do think most guys don't realize how much they've taken life out of that motor by doing that.
We took the boys to the fair last night, and I was following somebody on 96 highway.
Did you get a puffer, did you?
Oh man, like that thing was rolling gold like you wouldn't believe. And the whole time I'm sitting there, we're going along 96 highway, and he had somebody behind him that was kind of being a little bit of a jerk, and the car got beside him.
A little frustrated, didn't
and man, he let out a puff of smoke, and it went right into the side of that car. And I kind of giggled about that. So I guess I got that part of it. But anyways, I was looking at all that black smoke coming out of there. I was like, man, just the damage that it's doing internally for that next buyer. Okay, that guy may not have that truck very long, or maybe he does, and he'll be the one that has to, but somewhere down the line of that vehicle's ownership, somebody's going to have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly right. But anyway, the new technology in the truck, the new screens, the new camera system around the thing that floored me was the one of the camera that can then when you're turning in, and it's got a camera so you can see the side of your trailer, so you know if you're going to hit it, sideswipe a post or whatever. But
and then the lane or not lane, yeah, the lane assist or
yeah, what's that? I'm trying to draw a blank what they called that again.
But anyways, it will accommodate up to what do they say, a 48-foot trailer?
Like 40. Oh, blind spot
blind spot monitoring
up to 40-foot trailer for 48-foot trailer. So,
and I was like, that's incredible to be able to see,
see all that stuff coming through there. Yeah.
So other thing, the tailgate one.
Oh, that's another cool thing. Now, here's what I'm worried about that. Okay, let's back up. So, when you flip your tailgate now down on these trucks, you see the ground and
because the tailgate's
and it's beeping at you. You're going to run into something or whatever. Yeah. Well, now they got sensors on the top of the tailgates. When your tailgate's down, you can see what's going on from that part.
Still behind you, and a camera in the top of the tailgate so that you can see.
They never did say how many cameras there was on that truck, but I bet there's quite a few.
There's got to be quite a few.
But now what I'm worried about, Josh, how many used cars we get traded in and we're replacing the top of the tailgates and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Man, it's going to get expensive. I think if someone doesn't take care of their tailgates now with all the stuff that's in those trucks.
And I got to be from that side of it too. It blows me away. We walk some of these cars or look at some of these trade-ins on vehicles on just the cost of some of these components, but then also you look at what they're doing and how they're functioning. And the biggest one that I seldom see is the price of a headlight or a tail light and what that costs. But then when
I always tell you, I just want one, I don't need two, Josh.
But when you look in it and especially like say a tail light for example, one LED, and so all the circuitry that it's going to have in it for that, but then two, to accommodate the blind spot monitoring, there's radar in it, and modules for that in there, and that's an assembly. It's not much to get $1,200-$1,300 wrapped up in a headlight or tail light anymore.
Yeah,
and that's where I don't know. In insurance, I'm sure sees it a lot more. Dealing with collision, that you've hit a deer or bump something and you think, man, well, it shouldn't take much to fix that, and you're holding a $7,000 bill or something, and the car's still drivable. Years ago, $7,000 you weren't going anywhere. You weren't leaving the scene of wherever the collision occurred, let alone from that side of it. But now it just doesn't take much to get there, for sure.
No, it sure doesn't. That's for sure. Anyway, hey, 316-462-3673. Love to hear from you. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, anything you want to talk about in the automobile world, love to hear from you. So anyway, we can see if we left out anything we did in Vegas.
So the other side is just talking about EVs in general and kind of where that's going and production, what the production plans are as far as ramping up. And, I think some of the concerns you hear other manufacturers talk about how their ICE vehicles are going to go away, or their internal combustion engines are going to go away. And I just, from a logistical standpoint, man, there's going to have to be a lot of involvement in the EV side of things for that to take place.
Yeah.
The charging infrastructure is going to have to be better. The length of time that it takes to charge something is going to have to be better, and then just the capabilities. I mean, you think of there's so many industries that require heavy duty equipment and trucks and things like that for their for their production of stuff, agricultural things like that EV is just not a fit for. And so to say that the internal combustion engine is going to go away, it can't happen.
That's where they talk about, these manufacturers talking about 2030, 2035, all that kind of things. Well, hate to tell you this, there's no way that a Super Duty is going to be able to do that. Like you said, and everything else too. But I liked what Jim Farley had to come up and say. Once you read the asterisk down below there, that says light duty use only from that part. And that is true. I think that, with the Mustang, the Super Duty, the Bronco, we still got a lot of internal combustion engines coming. And the thing I did like, they did say they're still investing money in those internal combustion engines.
Well, and the other thing, so we're sitting there, and they're doing their presentations, and there was a couple different ones. So the new Super Duty is going to have a redesigned engine. The other thing, the Bronco Raptor has a 3-liter in it. As well. And so they're investing money in either updating what they already have or putting it into new technology. And to me, that if it was something that was going to go away or sunsetting,
they wouldn't.
You wouldn't be putting money into it, from
exactly.
that side of things. And
hey, you missed the chat line here real quick. Morning, Darren McKim. Sorry I missed you. James Furman. Hey, good morning. Jason Cox. Good morning. Troy Furman. Good morning. And yes, Mr. Furman, we'll get to that comment here shortly here in just a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, the internal combustion engines is still going to be around for a long time. To be a Ford dealer now, yeah, it's out there. And I can't even believe they put everything out there on YouTube and everywhere else. But yeah, it's out there that says if Ford presented us that it takes $1.2 million to go into being a EV dealer going forward. Either make the investment or you're not going to sell the EVs out there, or you can spend half $500,000 and you can at least service them and that sort of thing and get very few sales out of that $500,000. So it's a lot of money that Ford's asking us to invest in be an EV dealer. And yes, we're going to invest the money. To be an EV dealer, we want to take care of all your needs from whether you want an internal combustion engine or whether you want an EV or what it might be from that part. And Josh, we already got, we got a total of 6 Lightnings. 2 of them are actually CTPs. The last CTP unit is down on production. It's a Lariat coming. We delivered another one this morning, yesterday, and then we got one more coming for 22. And we've already got 4 scheduled building on 23 Lightning. So it's coming. I think the volume's going to come in 23 and that sort of thing. So it's going to be exciting. And the things are going to come new with electric. I don't know what they say. They keep talking about another pickup, and I can't decide if that's going to be the Maverick or it's going to be the Ranger, or maybe it's something different. I don't know, but I don't think it's a Maverick just because the Maverick's already getting 40 miles to the gallon and it's hitting the cafe ratings.
The only reason I was thinking that is just smaller, from that side of things. But who knows? Honestly, I kind of thought maybe we would get to see something out there in the line of that EV side of things.
I thought we'd see something too. I really did.
So, but they left a little for the imagination, I guess, from that side of things. And so we could kind of talk about the production of the EV vehicles and what they're looking to do over the next couple of years, but then also maybe why we haven't really seen as many as what initially we would have liked to, or they would have been slated to. And I think that just went because they were contracted by a certain number of states that are more mandating these a little heavier.
That's kind of like Mach-E. They first thought they were going to build, I think it was 40,000, or maybe it's 30. It's more like 40. And they only had building 26,000. That was because of parts availability, batteries availability, all that kind of stuff too. But by the government, they're mandated by the 7 states, or I don't know what you call those states again. They're called.
I was trying to think of the terminology he used, but essentially they're emission states.
Emission states. So those 7 states
they were contractually obligated to produce so many vehicles for those states.
It was 19,000. So that left 7,000 cars to be spread across the rest of the states for the Mach-E. So until you hear those numbers, you kind of wonder why we didn't get more Mach-Es. Now I get it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can get the parts and supplies and everything they need to go ahead and start building. And I love the Mach-E. I think it's cool. Now I do think where they made a mistake on that, I think they should have made a hybrid in the Mach-E.
Oh, a hybrid version of it?
I do. I think that's a cool looking car. It's fun to drive, everything else like that. But I think if we could have had a hybrid in there, I think it'd be very cool. And that's the only thing I wish these manufacturers would have done. I just feel this way. It's, again, my opinion. I'm not running those businesses or whatever. But I think instead of pushing so hard in the EVs right now, we should have went into a phase where we gradually put them in and push some hybrids more. I mean, I'm driving that F-150, and I'm averaging over 20 miles to the gallon. Most of my driving is in town and stuff like that too. Man, if I got 15 out of it in town on a regular EcoBoost, is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think if we would have went that way a little bit harder before we jumped so hard into the electric cars, but I guess I don't know what the pressure is on the other side of that from the government of getting those cafe ratings where they need to be in any time slots or whatever either. But I just wish we'd have went in more into the hybrids and then pushed everybody into you just can't shove this down our throats. And that's kind of how I feel. These electrics are just getting shoved down our throats before we know how to take care of them, how we do it. And I said that out there. I think we got 20% of the message from Ford because I don't think they know either what the future is going to bring and everything else too. But to put a big number out there for us to be an EV dealer, I think it was pretty tough to swallow. And I'm sure there's a lot of dealers out there can't swallow it and won't swallow it and everything else too from that part. But we will be an EV dealer. We're going to do what we can do that. I think the other thing is, I think they are giving us about a 2-year window to invest that money and do it as things progress and stuff. But the other thing I don't like about it either is the amount of money it's going to take to have their infrastructure of their chargers. And I don't know, consumers, I'd love to hear from you. Would you rather charge your electric car at your house, or would you rather come to the dealership and charge your car? I'd love to hear from you. 316-462-3673. Or let's talk about the electric cars. Tell me what your feelings are. Tell me how you're thinking about it or whatever.
Yeah.
And let's get some conversation going about that. But that's my opinion. I'd rather have my charger at my house than have to come up here to the dealership and charge with a fast charge. I mean, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to charge every time I pull in my garage, I'm going to plug it in. I'm not going to want to run to the dealership and go get a fast charge or whatever. Now, I do understand that customer that's traveling needs to know where these charge stations are at so they can book it out. And I mean, when that trainer came here to train us on the Mach-E, I thought it was pretty cool that we got in the car, sitting here at Hambelton Ford, and then we put in the navigation to go to Denver. And it would show you how to drive, and it would tell you how many miles you would take to get you. For example, first charge station was Salina. And it would tell you how long you'd have to sit there at Salina. Or you could still keep going and go to Hayes.
Yep.
And then how much longer you'd have to sit there at Hayes or whatever and plan your trip a little bit. I just don't think everybody's ready to do that kind of a trip yet from that part. And I think we're going to get there with some of this technology and stuff too. But give me a gasoline engine and a hybrid is where I think where we should be. But again, that's not my call or anything else too. But hey, let's get some conversation going about the electric cars. 316-462-3673. Yeah, you get a great price package just for each and every one calling in. So let's get the phones ringing. Love to hear from you what your thoughts, your feelings are on the electric cars. Now, we'll tell you, we've got Stan Bogdan, one of our sales managers, that has the Mustang Mach-E GT. That thing's pretty impressive.
And where I think, I really do think every household has 2.7 cars.
That's what it is, 2.7. Yeah.
I really do believe that there's a need for one hybrid in every household, or one electric vehicle in every household as a day-to-day driver from that side of things. That you're commuting. I think the average commute to work is 13 miles. I think is what they said, or
I think that's right.
Those lines, but. If you're looking at it from that standpoint, you go to work, go to back, go to the grocery store,
do whatever. Yeah.
And that would get you by
a long time.
Yeah. A long time on a single charge with that vehicle. And, it would be, you'd just charge it at night when you're at home. And it's the road trip side of things where that becomes questionable.
That's the road trips, and I'll go clear back to the Fusion hybrid when it came out. And I was still living in a hutch, and I had a customer call me and say, hey, I've got this big old Raptor. I'd love to drive one of those Fusion hybrids. So I took it home, let him drive it, because he thought the same thing at that time. He said, I'll leave my Raptor set in the garage, and I'll drive that Fusion to work and back. Anyway, he just decided it wasn't for him. He still wanted to drive his Raptor stuff. So how we shuffle these cars back and forth, and I left it there for Mary to drive. And it stayed there for a while because I just couldn't get it back with everything going on and stuff. And I got in that car, and it had 600 miles on it. It had a half a tank of gas in it. And I called her and I said, have you put any gas in this? She said, no. And what it amounted to, back then, those cars would go about 8 miles, I think is what it was, on 100% electric. And then it switched over to hybrid.
Yeah.
Well, taking the kids to school and back was 7 miles. So each time she got in, she plugged it in and stuff, and every night charged up. So it went 600 miles on a half a tank of fuel. That's where I think we're missing a boat on some of these situations of these hybrids, or a plug-in hybrid.
Yeah,
I guess is where we really need to go, in my opinion. But it is what it is too. Anyway, Jason Cox, I looked at the Lightning with all the bells and whistles. Not sold on it. Nice truck. Just not a big fan of electric. My 2000 F-150 averages 19 miles a gallon for me. That's not bad. Jason, I agree with you 100%. You need to, I don't know if you drove the truck, you ought to come drive it and check it out what that does. But I agree with you on the 19 miles per gallon. But the problem with your 19 miles to the gallon, that's only about half of what the government's telling these manufacturers they got to get to. They're in the low 40s that they're telling the manufacturers they've got to hit these CAFE ratings. And I'm with you 100%. 19 miles a gallon out of a truck, that's huge. That's great.
Yeah.
But that ain't cutting it for what the government's making these guys do. And that's why we got to have these trucks. So Jason and everybody, come out here and drive this Lightning. It'll blow you away from that part. And the tech, and it's the truck we have sitting here right now. It's called the Pro model. It's an XL, basically. Very base model truck and everything else too. But it is a cool thing to drive, and a lot of tech inside that truck. Still, I can't get over how quiet it is inside. I mean, you still think there's some wind noise or creaks or cracks or nothing, but there's not. From that part. So 316-462-3673. Hey, love to hear from you. and see anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, whatever it might be, or talk about the Lightning, talk about electrics, whatever. Love to hear from you on that part. But I do think it is going to happen in my lifetime. We will have a lot more electric cars.
Yeah. I don't.
It's going to grow.
I believe that as well. And then from that side it comes on the maintenance side of things, and I think that's something that will evolve as we get into this too. It's kind of an unknown at this point what that looks like for sure. Obviously, not doing your conventional oil changes, but then my other side of that is I value what we do at the 5,000 mile service interval. The other components of that 5,000 mile service interval just as important as changing the engine oil, and putting a new oil and filter on there, but rotating the tires and looking over the vehicle and topping off all the fluids and, adjusting tire pressures and things like that. I mean, that is just as an important service as changing the oil. And so in my mind, the two go hand in hand, and so, yeah, the service needs are different, but they're still there in an EV world, for sure. And so it's just changed to the industry for sure.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, 316-462-3673. Love to hear from you and everything else too from that part. So, trying to think if there's anything else we left out at Vegas that we learned from Ford or anything else from that part. Of course, the new Ford Pro for fleet, there's a big push on that deal too. And, what I didn't realize either too, till I probably should have known this or whatever, but when you go to the commercial fleet side of the business for all your construction and contractors and all that kind of stuff, if you take the Ford Super Duty, how many we sell of that, combine Dodge and Chevy together, and we still sell more than both those guys together. Yeah. And they're coming up some neat things for you guys that are in that world called Ford Pro that will help monitor your trucks, all that kind of stuff, and help you with that kind of thing. A huge push on that, so it's going to be exciting there too. And I'm telling you, they're pushing a lot of electric in there from that part. Again, we got 2 electric Transits running around in our parts inventory right now. That's we'd have to check out and see how far they're getting, that kind of thing. I told Paul to kind of give me some rundown of what the range starts off awful slow, but the regeneration of brake power inside that thing as you stop recharges the battery. So I don't know how far they're really getting or whatever on those.
I'd have to think back. When did we go from the Econoline to the Transit? I think it was probably 14. I don't know. Maybe it was further back than that. Time flies. Anyways, when
I think it's a little earlier than that.
It probably was. But when we, when they come out of that Econoline and pushed everything to the Transit, I thought, man, this is really going to disrupt some fleets, because the number of Econoline vans out there, cargo vans out there for fleet customers is astronomical. And then they, push that or move that into the Transit, but just the offerings that they have in the Transit configuration, the wheelbases and the roof heights and all it is unbelievable how many different configurations you can get that van in. And I think it's done a phenomenal job of adapting to the fleet world. The accessories that you can put on them and the packages that you can put inside of them and stuff like that is it's huge.
Yeah. And, we still have the Econoline van in a 1-ton configuration, I think is what it is. Yeah. But the Transit is just a much more user-friendly truck. All the options, everything put in, and it's 2013. I just Googled real quick. 13 is when we came out with the Transit. I'm with you. I looked at that thing, thought, what are we doing here? But, you take that van versus a Chevy van, and, when we went into this shortage of inventory and we needed these vans and stuff, I went out and bought some Chevys. No one wanted them.
Yeah.
I ended up selling them to another Chevy dealer to get them out of our inventory, but no one wanted them. Everybody wants that Transit van, what it does and how it performs and everything else too. It's pretty cool.
And I tell you, the motors in those things, they're no slouch either. They got the EcoBoost engines in them, and they'll get up and move right along, and they'll shift all your inventory in the back. Rotating stock.
There you go. Hey, anyway, 316-462-3673. Love to hear from you, and anything in the automobile world. But still love to hear from you on the electric cars, where your thoughts are, what you want to do, what you think you might do, what you think you might not want to do. I get it.
Or what what would you want to see in an electric vehicle?
There you go. 316-462-3673. And we got a phone coming up here, Josh. So let's get him on the phone. And it says Tom, but I bet it's Tim is who I bet you it's going to be. So let's find out if that is who's coming through the phone here real quick. We'll get him on the phone. 316-462-3673. Anyway, James Furman, 2014 was when the Econoline went away. They're still making them, James. 14 was the last year they had the half tons and 3/4, but the Econoline is still out there in the 1 ton.
Tim, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
Great. Good morning, Bill, Josh. First off, let me say congratulations to Team 3J Racing on the championship last night. That was a great job.
Yeah, it was kind of a exciting night. We had to we were behind we were leading it by 3 points. That means we had to finish. The number 24 Brandon Conkright had to beat us by 3 spots to beat us. And halfway through the race, on a restart, they made a judgment call, as I would say, and put Jake to the back. And so Jake had to charge back through that field in 10 laps to come back through that field again. And he did it. And so thank you, Tim, for the congratulations. It was an exciting night, and glad we got another championship behind us, and pretty fun. So we head to Dodge City tonight for another last points race of the year, see what we can do at Dodge. But it was a fun night at Salina for sure.
Well, good luck tonight. But my question about an EV vehicle, not to mention the fact that I have to go somewhere, may get in line to charge and may have to wait for 2 or 3 other people in front of me is a concern. But my big concern would be on the trade-in of this vehicle and the battery life. And am I going to get dinged because they're going to say, well, you've already got X number of years on this battery. It's going to have to be replaced. It's going to cost thousands of dollars to replace this battery. Whereas, today's internal combustion engines can go hundreds of thousands of miles, where batteries, I don't think, are to that point yet, or they either need to be charged more often and frequently because they wear down. Where's going to be my incentive to, other than to change every time it goes out of warranty? What's going to be my incentive to hang in there or to buy one of these, not knowing what my resale value is going to be?
Tim, you're getting a great point there, and I'm with you 100% on that one too. How long are these batteries going to last? And the other thing I'm thinking too, and I haven't got really a confirmation of that, you've got your 110 chargers, which charge these cars very, very, very slow. Then you've got the 220 chargers, which do a much better job in about half the time that a 110 does. But then these DC fast chargers that charge these things so fast, I truly believe that takes the life out of that battery from that part. But also, I think what we're going to find is right now what these batteries look like, if you open them up, it looks like a whole bunch of AA batteries kind of lined up inside of there. I think we'll get to the point to where if a battery goes bad, instead of replacing that whole battery, I think we'll open those batteries up and test and find those bad cells and actually replace the cells and keep the cars going. I think they're kind of doing that already with some of the electric cars out there that got some age on them or whatever. But I also know of a deal where a guy bought a Tesla, didn't know the battery's bad, and was $16,000 to put a battery in it after already bought it and stuff too. So I'm with you. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of things there too that I don't know that anybody knows where we're headed 100% of the way with this. And that's why I said earlier, I think we got about 20% of the message from Ford, because I think that's all they know too, where we're headed and everything else too. I just wish Tim, you're a perfect example with your F-150. I wish we'd have pushed harder into the hybrids first and got a lot more of those rolling before we push so hard into this electric side.
Absolutely. And, I was hesitant with the Power Boost, and I can't tell you, I thought this going to electric, going to gas, going back and forth, I would feel it, hear it, whatever. I don't. It works great. And if you keep it basically below 45, it goes to electric almost every chance it gets if you use that eco reminder there.
The eco mode, yeah.
I can't tell you. I've gotten some trips. I was out in the mountains in New Mexico and drove probably 120 miles one day and just up and down in the mountains, and kept the speed below 45. And I was up 36, 37 miles to a gallon.
Yeah. Crazy. Crazy what these things will do. I agree 100%. It's like I said, I'm driving a used one right now, Tim, and I just left that trip setting up there, because most of mine's in town driving too. And in the regular EcoBoost, I'd get 15, 16, and this thing's almost 20 miles a gallon difference. So it's a huge improvement and stuff too. Plus the thing I really love about it too, you put it in the sport mode, it really
it'll go.
Too.
Yeah.
It really does from that part. So
well, thanks guys. You guys have a great day, and I'm gonna get out there one of these days and try lightning out, I think, but I'm gonna stick to the power. I'm pretty sure.
I'm with you there too. But you do need to come take a test drive in this Lightning and just feel it and watch what it does and everything else too. And then here in probably, I'm going to say a couple of weeks, we'll have a Lariat Lightning that's also going to be putting that in the loaner program or courtesy transportation program, we call it. It's just being built too. And so there we can kind of see the difference from that Pro model, which is your base model, up to that Lariat side, and kind of feel what that does too. So anyway, Tim, thanks for calling, and
appreciate the comments.
You got it, gentlemen. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, Tim. All right, 316-462-3673. Hey, let's keep the phones ringing and everything else too. Love to hear from you. Some great comments there out of Tim,
and those are valid, from somebody that's looking to make an investment or purchase something along those lines. Definitely concerns that would weigh on somebody's mind, and so he asked or talked about the degradation of the battery and how that works long term. What I will say is that the manufacturer, I feel, has done a pretty decent job on kind of backing up what they're putting out there, in the sense of warranty wise on that battery. It's going to be a 7-year, 100,000 mile warranty and this is the part that I'm a little unsure of as far as how to monitor or know, but up to a 70%, that it's going to guarantee that it will hold a 70% charge capacity up to those points. So that would give you a 30% depletion of charge capacity. And so it's the monitoring of that and what that looks like, from that standpoint. But as far as as you talked about, that is correct. Being able to, if there's an issue with the battery, we're actually disassembling the battery and able to replace individual cells from that side. I've sent several guys up to the training classes already, and that have that training completed, that they've performed those repairs.
Have they?
Yeah, and that's something that that they've done at the training facility and things like that. So, from a dollars and cents standpoint, is that we see these for all intents and purposes, I guess, motors that have to be replaced and the thousands of dollars that costs versus what a repair on a battery looks like. I think that's something, as this evolves, those are figures that we're going to get into and be able to better understand, from a cost of ownership standpoint, what that looks like from the EV model. But what I will say is, man, some of the, we priced a engine the other day, and it was pretty substantial,
11 grand.
And so when you're looking at numbers like that, I really think you could do a lot as far as to remove a battery from a vehicle, replace a couple of individual cells and put it back together, and I would assume be well under that expense. And so, from a dollars and cents standpoint, on the repair cost of ownership, there's going to be a lot less moving parts on these EV vehicles. You're not going to have all the internal combustion components and transmission, components and things like that. So I don't know, apples to apples, long term, what that's going to look like. Now, I would assume the expense on those components, individual components, may be more, but there's a heck of a lot less of them. Now, from the tech side of it, and the power windows and all the tech that they're putting in these cars, I'm sure that's going to be
Still going to be the same issues. I mean, basically, we're taking a car and just taking the internal combustion engine out of it.
The power plant, what makes it go out of it,
and change it. So you got all the other sensors, all the other, like you said, window motors, all this, all those different things in there from that part too that will still have to be maintained and still going to have failures, still going to happen. They're still going to wear out from that part. But it's an evolving industry right now. And I'll say this, what we're doing today, what we think we're going to be doing today, in 2 years is going to be different.
Yeah.
2 more years is going to be totally different. And 5 years from now, we're going to be not even close to what we're doing today with these cars from that part.
And, I will say from my standpoint is that's what's attracted me about this industry the whole time I've been in it, is that, it's always evolving. It's always changing. There's always going to be things that you disagree with. And then there's going to be things that, that you think, wow, we really nailed that, or we're right on there. And then 6 months later, a whole new set of something's coming. And so it's just always being able to adapt and do well. And, it's and it's the same way with the, our technicians in the back, is that it's the guys that keep up with that, that are up and trained with it and kind of know what's coming, or once it is coming, learn about it, understand what it's doing, how it works, why it's that way. Those are the people that are successful in this business. If you're not that person in this industry,
you're gonna get left behind.
In 6 months, you're gone. Or you're still in the industry, but it's not fun. It's not lucrative. It's and that's where that's what has drawn me personally to this industry for as long as it has, I guess.
Well, I've been doing this 40 years, and I've never been without a job. I've never been fired from a job, but I do love this industry just for that reason, because I promise you, when I sell you one, they're going to break at some point in time. It's going to happen. Everybody wants a new one. Everybody wants a different one or whatever. And it's just a constant evolving equation of something new coming every time. It makes me want to have that new car every time. I need that one. I need that one from that part. And it's hard for that standpoint of the deal, but I'm with you, Josh. That's why I love this industry too. I ran into a gentleman that races up in Salina with us, and he was him and I were kind of buddies and partners in the Votech school there at Salina. And of course, he got out of the business and stuff too, and working on these dirt track cars is kind of like back in my day, what we had with carburetors and all that kind of stuff. And that's what he's excited to work on still too. Like me, it's like I love in the evenings to go back and work on that race car. But man, is it different. There's not even anything different. And then another buddy of mine, Gary, that still lives up in Salina, he wrenched with me there at Bennett Pontiac. Same thing we talked about. I mean, it's crazy what we used to do and how we used to work on cars and all that kind of stuff. And it's not even close to what these techs are doing today to maintain these cars and take care of them and service them. Not even close.
So I go back and forth with David Gray, is the service manager here, and he loves old cars, and I like old cars too. I can go to a car show and I can appreciate, absolutely everything everybody's done to get that vehicle to that point of restoration. But on the other side of that, man, I know the headache and frustration and that car to take something old and refurbish it. Again, there's an ass for every seat, as they say. But to take something old and refurbish it and get it to how you would want it, like it, and be satisfied with it, you're never going to get to that level. It's never going to be the way you want it. It's never going to be the amount of money that it's going to take to get it there. You just will go down and buy you something brand new that you can hop in, go coast to coast, cruise with AC on, have as much, if not more, horsepower out of that than whatever you put into this vehicle. It's not going to be heavy. The wind noises, fit and finish. It's crazy.
It's like me and Jake, my son, go round and round. I've got my first car ever bought, a 75 Chevelle. Yeah, it is a pile of what. But I'm telling you, Jake wants me to restore that thing and put it back together, and the thousands of dollars it'd take to do that. He goes, "Don't you want to drive it again?" No, no, I really don't, because I got these other cars that are so much nicer to drive and everything else. Like the amount of money I would spend on that car, I'd love to have another newer, fresher hot rod ready to go. But everybody has something different. I got those guys out there love to restore those cars and love to do that stuff. everybody's different, but not me. I do not have the time to spend the money on that car. It looks just fine sitting in the corner as it does right now. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, got a couple questions coming through. One is a good question, Josh, and I don't know the answer to it, but good buddy of mine from Topeka he's watching, but he's texting me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
Does an extended warranty cover electric batteries?
That is the one of the things that I was going to bring up as well, is that as our industry evolves into this EV side of things, the extended warranty companies are going to have to evolve into it too. And so it's been my experience up to, I can't tell you as far as Mach-E, but I know like on the Prius and things like that that were out previously, or the hybrid vehicles and not the fully EV vehicles, that the battery is covered by an extended manufacturer warranty outside of the bumper to bumper. So like I said, the 7-year 100,000 mile warranty, typically what you see when a manufacturer extends the factory warranty on a component like that. So like powertrain control modules, or PCMs, are typically always covered for like an 880. And you see extended warranties, they will exclude that warranty out of their extended warranty because the manufacturer steps up with a longer manufacturer warranty. So I think
you're going to see some stuff change there too.
You're going to have to, when I think it comes to the fully electric vehicles. So yeah, I would think that they would have to change their game, to be able to do that.
Yep. Anyway, Rex Strigger requests in here, if engineers are still designing it, technicians will still be straightening it out. That's true. Yeah, we fought a lot of back in that day, when my day, wrenching on those cars too. You'd think, what was that engineer thinking when he built the car this way? Why was he putting this together? And it's kind of crazy on some of the things, but
that's tunnel vision, I think, is the best way I can describe that. Is, that guy there's probably how many ever different engineers that have to put the whole thing together, and he's focused on this part,
one area,
right here.
And then, one engineer might design one thing, one designs another, and when it finally gets together, they don't work. Then they got to, it's Rex. I'm with you 100% on that deal, because we did a lot of straightening out back in our day on that things too. So, and James Furman, kind of off the subject, I grew up around shops. I never interested in the mechanical side, which I should have been paid more attention. But I love looking at all the different cars, and I learned how to cuss. Very true, buddy.
There's a lot of colorful language that goes on, I think, in the automotive industry. For sure.
Anyway, Greg Murray, isn't the Power Boost 8 years, 100,000 mile battery warranty?
So it is on the Power Boost, it is a extended warranty, a longer range warranty. Yeah,
on that part too. So, Tim, Tim's still listening there or whatever. I don't know where the actual part comes into it, but I'm still, what are these cars going to be worth when they've got that 80 to 100,000 miles on them, and they're 8 years old? What is going to happen to that value? I don't know. Time will tell. Going to get interesting is what I'm going to tell you.
Yep.
And from that part. So,
I mean, if the trends anything like values are now, you'll be able to sell it for more than what it's worth. So the other side of that too is they mentioned something that I kind of keyed in on, and maybe I overthought it when they said it, but they were talking about the battery plants that they were building and the dollar figure that they put in there. But it wasn't just an assembly plant. They were doing it. One of them was going to be a recycling plant for these batteries too. So I'm wondering how much of the material
they can reuse.
That they're going to be able to, and so in that instance, that makes even a used up battery valuable if there's things inside of it that they can,
instead of stealing catalytic converter, I've got stealing batteries out of cars.
Yeah, so after seeing some of these batteries, I wish them luck.
Well, yeah, that's true too. It's going to be pretty hard to do that. But from that part, I guess you're always going to have those thieves. As much as I can't stand a thief and someone stealing something, whatever, too, from that part. But anyway, lots of good comments coming through, and Josh, we're kind of running out of time here.
Let's talk about how things went the other night or last night for you. I guess you got it. James said something up there, and
Team 3J was. We've been racing IMCA this year. We've been running Hayes and Dodge and Salina, and Jake's goal this year was to win the state points championship for all the drivers through the state, and he's pretty well got that locked in. No way anybody can take that away from him. So we got that championship for sure. Last night we rolled into Salina with a 3-point lead, and Brandon Conkright was 3 points behind us. And he got the start in front of us, and we started ninth, and we took off, and on a 20-lap feature, and Jake and Brandon were running. Brandon was running second. Jake was running third. Had a restart. And, of course, they do it. The leader gets out front. Brandon was on the inside. Jake's on the outside. They come around through turn 2, and Jake split the middle, and the number 1 guy went off the backside. And they penalized Jake. Judgmental call. Still don't agree with it. They can argue with me all they want. I got several people. Everybody's got a different opinion what happened there last night. Jake's right rear mud plug was the only thing that was even kind of tore up a little bit. But if it's his rear mud plug that got tore up and that guy went off the back straightaway, who was leading? I got a video to prove he was in the lead.
Yeah.
Someone should have hit the brakes or someone should have got off the gas. But in turn, they penalized Jake, put Jake to the back with 10 to go. So I'm thinking, okay, it's over. But Jake bared down within 2 laps back in the 4th and raced a couple more cautions and stuff like that, and then finished in 3rd. Brandon finished 2nd. So we were the champion again at Salina Speedway. So it's pretty cool for that. And,
very good.
2nd championship for Jake. We're looking, I guess, kind of the 3rd if you figure the state points championship too. But he hit his goals there from that part. We'll head to Dodge tonight. We're running 3rd in Dodge. We would be a lot better in Dodge, but we missed a race at Dodge. We had a double night with Salina. And so we'll go out to Dodge tonight and see what we can do there for the last points race from that part. So pretty cool for Team 3J, all the guys that help us with that and all the sponsors from everybody that helps put that race car on the racetrack. And the Mullins guys, we had a kind of a rough night out at Boone. And kind of got the car tore up a little bit out at Boone last weekend, and Buddy and Tanner took off and put that thing back together. And you're always a little skeptical how it's going to drive or whatever. We went out for hot laps, and she felt good and everything else from that part. Made a couple more finer adjustments, and
always makes you feel better when you get back in it, and everything
feels
feels good. Yeah,
feels good and stuff too. So yeah, we'll have a little celebratory time, and everything else. Got home about 2:00 last night. From that part, and we'll get the car serviced up and head back out to Dodge and see what we can do there. See if we can maybe move into 2nd place in points or whatever from that standpoint too.
Season is definitely starting to kind of wind down a little bit.
It is. Sure. We just got 2 more 2-day show at Salina next weekend, and the following weekend we got another 2-day show at Hayes, and that's kind of it for us for this year. And go back to the rebuild and get after it again and have another fun time next year. I think our plans to do the same thing next year is run those same 3 tracks again and go.
Very good. Very good.
So anyway, any last comments, anything for you, Josh, anything whatsoever?
Well, thank our sponsors and
get out of here, huh? Is that what you want to say?
Get to going.
Anyway, again, BG Products, all the great preventative maintenance products we use right inside here at Hambelton Ford. Again, I've been using this product since 1987, and we talk about somebody evolving. They have evolved and evolved and evolved into doing a great job. Love them right here in Wichita, and again, can't thank those guys enough for all the great partnerships we have with them. We love giving them cars to work on, to test and do all that kind of stuff. And hey, we're going to head out next Friday. We're going to take the Mustang to the dyno, see what that thing does with the turbo and stuff. So stay tuned for that part 2. So Big Corner Creative, all your advertising needs. Hey, it's not just a wrap company or a race car wrap company. It's a full-fledged advertising company. Can take care of anything you need in your company, whatever it might be. If you need a web page, Google advertising. If you want to try the traditional advertising still, whatever it might be, anything to advertise your business, as those guys say, just Google us. Go to Rent. Hey, we got the fleet building back up over there at Go to Rent. If you're needing something for this holidays, you might probably want to get in line because the fleet is cut still to about half what we normally are. Give Stan a call right inside here at Go to Rent. Hey, everybody, have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you next Saturday.